Inflation Reduction Act was definitely more controversial. It was another spending bill when inflation was already high, and that's something that Republicans are going to continue hammering Biden on, I think, as long as he's the president, basically. Inflation is down-ish. It's down to about 3%. That's still 50% higher than what the Fed wants. They want 2%. 3% is still a lot higher, even though it doesn't maybe seem that much. And it's still, since he took office, Republicans are saying this a lot now, it's been up basically 17% since the day he took office. So that's going to be a big issue for voters that Biden's going to try to overcome with this Bidenomics messaging push.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle. I'm joined today by White House reporter Hasten Willis.
Hey.
Hasten, go west, young man. President Biden has gone west on his Bidenomics tour. Talk a little bit about where he's been and what the focus has been on.
Yeah, he sure has. Congress is out for all of August. Biden spent the first week of August on vacation. Now he's kind of continuing. This isn't a vacation, but I'm imagining he might be enjoying himself. He's heading out to Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. States he doesn't really visit that often. He travels a good bit. Usually he hits like the Midwest, a lot of Pennsylvania, a lot of swing states and stuff like that. Of these states, really only Arizona is a swing state.
Right.
Anyway, he's given the mountain time zone some love here.
Right.
So yeah, he's talking about Bidenomics. He's still trying to plug the economy. They've been on that kick for about a month now, really plugging the economy's great, unemployment's low, whatever. He's also using this trip to mark the one-year anniversary of several big pieces of legislation he was able to sign last year. We got the PAC Act, which is a toxic burn pits, Veterans Affairs benefits thing. There was the CHIPS and Science Act, which is designed to promote new technology. Mm-hmm. And what's the third one? I'm missing the third one.
Inflation Reduction Act.
The biggest one,
right.
The Inflation Reduction Act, which is the leftovers from what was originally the Build Back Better Act, a big stimulus bill. So he's talking about those, using the one-year anniversary as kind of an excuse to talk about them again, and that's what the trip's about.
Right, and so two of those bills were, at least to a certain degree, bipartisan, especially in the Senate. Mm-hmm. But Inflation Reduction Act was passed through reconciliation, Democratic votes only. Mm-hmm. A lot of Republicans would even like to repeal portions of it.
They would. And honestly, that may be the one he's talking about the least. He's spending a little more time on the other two that are bipartisan, like you said. Yeah, the Inflation Reduction Act was definitely more controversial. It was another spending bill when inflation was already high. And that's something that Republicans are going to continue hammering Biden on, I think, as long as he's the president, basically. Inflation is down-ish. It's down to about 3%. That's still 50% higher than what the Fed wants. They want 2%. 3% is still a lot higher, even though it doesn't maybe seem that much. And it's still, since he took office, Republicans are saying this a lot now, it's been up basically 17% since the day he took office. So that's going to be a big issue for voters that Biden's going to try to overcome with this Bidenomics messaging push.
Right, even though inflation is on a downward trajectory for the most part, costs are still higher for people than they were just a few short years ago.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't risen that much from 1 year ago, but again, people can remember, most people, what prices were 2 years ago and 3 years ago, and they were a lot lower in some cases, depending on, especially for certain items like gas and eggs and things like that.
The Biden administration is sort of having a fight in court over its ability to contact social media companies. This could have some implications for the 2024 presidential election, obviously Twitter in particular, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, I guess X, right. X Twitter. It plays a pretty big role in the campaign. Talk us through a little bit what sort of the conflict is.
Yeah, so this is the Missouri versus Biden case. Really interesting case, something that I think conservatives especially are really interested in. A judge named Terry Doughty in Louisiana put a pretty sweeping, wide injunction on the Biden administration, preventing them from contacting at all, most of the time, social media companies. And it impacted a lot of people, a lot of cabinet members. The press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra were blocked completely from talking to social media companies. And the reason was there was all this evidence gathered. There was a lawsuit from two states, Missouri and Louisiana, saying that they were basically attacking Americans' free speech rights, regular people who use social media, right? X used to be Twitter, Facebook, whatever. The Biden administration was pressuring them to remove posts that they deemed to be problematic or misinformation. It's something that the Biden administration sort of bragged about, really, the first year they were in office. They said that they were flagging problematic posts for Facebook. We're helping get rid of misinformation.
A lot of that had to do with COVID, right?
A lot of it had to do with COVID, yeah. It was what they called vaccine hesitancy, the origins theory, and of course, as it turns out, things we hear from Republicans is that some of that stuff was accurate, right? Vaccines did not prevent transmission, even if they prevented you from getting severe illness. The COVID origins theory has kind of gained traction. It's certainly not considered a fringe theory anymore. Has gone pretty mainstream. So there's a lot to that.
And then obviously in the background of that, even though it may not be the main thing that the Biden administration is focused on, a lot of Republicans thinking about the Hunter Biden laptop story at that time.
Yeah. So on the election side, right, and this is actually, I believe, cited in the injunction itself, was the Hunter Biden laptop story that was suppressed by Twitter at the time, and to the extent they're worried about the extent to which this could happen again in the future elections. They could talk about this is misinformation. We need to take this down. When again, with the Hunter Biden laptop story ended up being accurate. So it's a question of who has control here. And the big question too is kind of what this kind of boils down to is who's doing the censorship, right? It's a social media company on their own is saying, oh yeah, this is problematic, it's inaccurate, we don't want this dangerous information, misinformation spreading, we're going to take it down. If they're doing it because they're being bullied or jawboned is the term, if the government is jawboning them, threatening them with legislation and things like that, then that's more problematic and that's more of a free speech violation.
And of course, the biggest question of all is who's zooming who?
Always.
Thank you, Haston. You can read Haston and the rest of our political team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.